Sounds good. Thank you so much. And great to see a lot of familiar faces on here, and Tony's especially. Done quite a bit of work with him as well, and the implementation side, in addition to setting him up initially. The reason why I brought Tony on is he has a very credible background in this space. He delivers projects for a variety of large organizations and many different tools, and he chose SmartSuite to manage these projects. Before we dive into his introduction as well as his perspective on the space, I will highlight and give a quick snapshot of the visual around this. So the reality of today's PMO, a lot of organizations are chasing gaps in this space. And these four dashboards here represent the roles in this process and how SmartSuite is solving these gaps. The first dashboard here is a program lifecycle dashboard. Here's where leadership can get an instant pulse on the entire project management system, the projects, the risks and blockers, the bottlenecks, maybe a change request pipeline, and all of the details about the project at a glance. So rather than taking that weekly report snapshot and sending it, this is a real-time active pulse of the entire process or grouping of processes in one location for people to always have access to the latest data. In the project manager dashboard, this is where someone could manage their particular projects that they're involved in or managing a grouping of projects that they're involved in. So rather than reducing the variation of these projects, improving the reporting of this, and allowing them to scale different projects across teams. Pointed direction into what they need to do within these projects. So having tasks roll up, the delivery process, and change requests in the pipeline here. Team lead dashboard. So a number one problem that project management teams face is how are our resources allocated? Are people over capacity? And having this data within a system that connects to each other allows us to see this data in a way that we hadn't before. Understanding why things are blocked. Why is a particular person not performing in the way that we incentivized? How do we make performers that are succeeding or be like each other? So then we can start to allocate resources accordingly and hire new resources as needed. And then the team member dashboard is where the work gets done. So not only we don't have just a clear view and ownership of these tasks, but we're presenting data that allows actionable insights, and people know exactly the pointed information that they need to go to. They can understand what they need to do today, what's upcoming to be delivered, and even just stand-ups around their projects. So everyone's aware. These four role-based dashboards represent our SmartSuite PMO system. And if you like what you see there, it is downloadable as a built-out solution for you in our gallery. So if you click on New Solution, if you don't have a trial, you can easily sign up on our website. If you click on Start with a Template and type in Program Management Office, this solution is available for you to download in a couple seconds. So if your organization is struggling to manage projects, or you notice that things are falling through the cracks, this PMO system is what separates high-performing teams for ones that potentially are reactive. And with that, we will actually dive into a little bit more about the solution template and kind of the backbones and behind-the-scenes structure. But I would like to now shift to Tony. So when you look at the dashboards like these and SmartSuite as an ecosystem here, what stands out to you as the biggest shift PMOs are making today?
A lot of it doesn't come so much from the dashboard that I'm looking at, but for me, the shifts in PMO comes in the way people work and how they work. A majority of your companies, the folks where you guys work and such, I'm sure that you have rogue IT everywhere. I'm sure that everybody can download a cloud-based system to try to manage their projects, and suddenly you've got everybody doing stuff in different ways. I think the role of the modern PMO as we know it now, as work begins to move faster and people are cross-functional and scattered, is how do we rein them in and pull them into one platform or one idea, but still give them the freedom to develop and do the work the way they want to do the work. And I think that SmartSuite's done a good job of that, for allowing like your mad scientists to be mad scientists, then allow your compliance officers to be compliance officers, and you could still feed it into your system and grow from there. Does that make sense?
It does. And I like that you touched on the legal and compliance side of things. So having an audit trail in SmartSuite is really helpful and stamps on statuses so people know from a compliance standpoint as well. I've worked with a lot of
Right.
project marketing banks, marketing campaigns that have projects around it that need that visibility and audit information.
Yeah,
How
we do a
does,
lot of
oh,
work
sorry, go
in
ahead.
fintech and healthcare. And, when you start talking about HIPAA and other people's private information and then financial documentation and such, you really need to have a system as much as your people on the ground sometimes rebel against being put into a system or into a process, right? It's absolutely necessary for the safety of your company.
How does Simply, just a little bit of background in your company, how does Simply Put build and implement project execution frameworks for clients?
Well, it sort of comes from the name, right? Just a little bit of background of who we are. Simply put, we cater to mid-market and private equity companies, also their portfolio companies and such, and we do sustainable growth, organizational transformation, business transformation, and that takes a shape of a couple of different things, right? One of them is certainly project management, organizations, how projects run, how ERPs get done, finances, CRM, the entire suite of work. But the underlying thing that I think makes it work for us is really taken from the name. We definitely begin with the end in mind, right? We start simple. We want to make sure we're tracking only what matters before we put any piece of software or before we start configuring SmartSuite to do X and Y or talk about this. We get people in a room and talk about their whys. Like, what are you guys doing? What are you trying to accomplish this for? What does the outcome look like when it's done? How does this process going to affect your daily lives, right? So in the big picture, we have this is what it's going to be, but in the little picture, we've got to track only what matters in the short term and grow from there. So, we got to define the decision teams that need to make the work. You've got to create a model, and you've got to let people beat on the model. Anytime you put in a PMO, an ERP, CRM, an EIEIO, whatever, the whole thing is change management. It all falls back to change management and how you manage the change with people. And we found, not to tie it back in, it sounds like a commercial, but we found that SmartSuite does the best job of allowing people to adapt at their own speed while continuing to keep the project implementation going forward. Some folks jump right in and they understand the concept of the solution and they're making Kanban boards because they used to love Jira, right? And some folks they want to work out of a spreadsheet and they can use the same thing and then they can go. But the nice part about it is it all comes back to the same data, right? It's got to be both a parachute and a rocket ship at the same time. That makes sense?
Perfect. And that's a good transition into some of the limitations that SmartSuite has solved for your company. I know you touched on the capabilities that stood out, but what criteria mattered to you most when you chose a system to manage your projects? And what limitations led you to look for a tool?
So we're talking about two things here. We're talking about the shopkeeper, like, the shoekeeper's kids. Why did we choose SmartSuite? And then why do we suggest it often for our clients? And a lot of it comes down to, for us, we've seen giant implementations of Microsoft Project and, you're putting in smart sheets or all these other products and tools. What we like about SmartSuite is that it's low code and people can do it themselves. You don't have to bring in developers. You don't like if we put in an ERP for NetSuite for somebody, we're rolling that out. You need a coder, you need a NetSuite developer, you need like six or seven behind the scenes people just to move the field from here to here. Smartsheet or SmartSuite, excuse me, gets rid of all of those things for us, to the dismay of the guys in my company. It enables me to move fields around. And they're constantly like, we got to get this guy's admin's rights. We got to get rid of him because he's making changes on the fly, right? Because that's the great part about it is once you understand your why and you've got your basis for how this is supposed to look, you can do it yourself. You can really do it yourself, which is amazing. It's just amazing.
This is more of a candid question. I got this from a prospect the other day. So the concern is bureaucracy. They don't want people to feel like they're being micromanaged or using a system to show information that may put people under the bus. And rather than using it as a tool to grow, what's your perspective on that?
It depends what kind of culture you have in the organization, right? Are you managing methods or are you managing results? And if you're managing methods, it's probably a conversation that you need to have at the top. Like if you manage the method and you have to do X, Y, and Z to get to here, nothing's ever going to change and people aren't going to innovate, right? So, but if you manage to results and I say, hey, at the end of 2 weeks, you've got to have this done, and then I cut you loose to do it however you want in SmartSuite, suddenly you don't feel micromanaged, right? But yet you're still accountable because your data is in SmartSuite. You might do it in a Kanban board or a spreadsheet or just a couple of tasks in your own task stuff. That data can still be surfaced in any shape or form you want so that the accountability stays, but the innovation is still free,
That's a great way to put it.
right? I'm going to
What
take the commission on that sales pitch, by the way.
what surprised you most when you're building PMO and SmartSuite? And I know you actually use SmartSuite for your CRM as well, so feel free to touch on that, 'cause I
Well,
know that
that
was
that was
important
the
to you.
most surprising part. Like when we came to you, we were talking about a PMO tool. And after probably our second or third conversation, we went, holy cow, we can replace HubSpot, Salesforce, all our items and build a CRM. And we literally pivoted and built a CRM before we built our own internal PMO tool. The great part about that is there's no EDI, there's no data connection, there's no data lake connecting this product to this product. It's all still in SmartSuite, right? So the stuff that we do in our CRM, from a prospect to a qualified lead to a deal to a one deal, once it becomes a one deal, it gets roped right over into our PMO and it becomes a project. So away we go.
Specifically in SmartSuite, and I know I hear this from a technical standpoint, but linked records, why are those important to you? And if you could potentially conceptualize or explain them in a way that people who don't build linked records can understand.
Let's see, how would I explain like the linked record, the roll-up concept, right? Is really what you are. This was a paradigm shift for me as well, Emma, when I started.
Mhm.
When we first started playing with SmartSuite, my first thought was, where's my Gantt chart? Where's my hierarchy? Why is this should be here and this should be here? And it took me a while for the light to come on to say data can exist in different tables or solutions and still be linked back to the item that you're working on. And it was really an eye opener for us in terms of how we thought about our data, how we manage work, and what's important, right? It goes back to the CRM example. That's a separate table and solution, but some of those fields link up into a master table and a master database and such. And it's it goes back to my beginning statement that you've got to understand your why and what you're trying to do and what you want to accomplish, right?
Very nice. That connectivity, I think, was really helpful for you because you had your CRM, and rather than being siloed with your spreadsheets in your
Right.
previous tool, you could have it all connect in one place. So being
Yeah, I
able to
mean
open up.
the ability to just create a linked field, right, or roll something up on the fly is way different than having to get our CRM person to give me a CSV file, and then I got to clean the CSV file and I got to go integrate it and put it up into something else, or I can just link the pieces that I need.
Very nice. And I know we spent a lot of time thinking about that and seeing if SmartSuite was a good fit for you just because it was such a new tool. Do you remember any specific moment? Was it the linked record capability or what really made you see? And I saw that transition when we had that discussion because before
Right.
there was a lot to show. It's hard to show what's important to you. We are still understanding each other's needs, but do you remember that shift in which led you to realize like
Sure.
this
It,
is a
it
tool?
it was both in how I worked and in the linked records. I think that I probably drove you crazy saying, "Where's my tasks and where's my subtasks?" And I just want to click on this project and see my task and then six subtasks. And this I've been working this way for 30 years. Why can't I just do this? And to your credit, you beat me amongst the head and shoulders until I finally got it and understood that it's a separate piece of data in a separate table, and having those tasks and then subtasks in separate tables gives you the ability to do more with them, to connect them to more places. And it was an eye opener and for us. So it was great.
That's good to hear. Do you have any examples of SmartSuite improving your execution in projects or projects for your clients?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I wouldn't be here if I wasn't chock full of examples, right, of where it's improved our execution. For me, and I don't know if you're going to ask about this later, the greatest improvement for me came from reporting. I like what I call airplane reports, which are printouts I can read on the airplane when I'm flying somewhere, right? The live dashboard crosses my eye. I don't care. I want to sit, I want to read, I want to understand, and I want people to tell me what's the good and bad of a project, right? SmartSuite gave us the ability to do dashboards for real world live data, and the automation tools gave us the ability to provide printouts for old guys like me. So it was both the combination of the weekly, oh, this is green, this is red, this is great, and I can see it on the fly, and I get an alarm in my email. In addition to, I can get the printouts. They come to me in a PDF. They email me. I can read it when I'm flying home or flying somewhere or wherever I am, and enables me to digest the data the way I want to.
Very nice. I like that analogy, the printing on an airplane.
Yeah,
And yeah,
I want to
you
read my reports on an airplane. So.
very nice. It's so thinking about a modern PMO. I know in the notes when we discussed before the webinar, you talked a lot about results and not methods. So for
Mhm.
people struggling to create a modern PMO and shift with the way tech is going, what key characteristics do you think really differentiate a modern PMO from what a traditional one is capable of?
I think the modern PMO is not filled with bureaucracy, and it's not one that keeps people in the line of this is the way it must be done, right? Because you see that all the time. How many times do I hear, "Hey, I did this in Notion," or "We use Trello and a spreadsheet, and we're using this from 30 years ago and such." You've got to give the people the ability to work the way they're comfortable working while molding them into a situation that protects them and the company. So the modern PMO has to be flexible. It has to provide people's data in different views, in different work streams and such, but it still has to be a secure, safe place for that data. Just an example, I've got one of my senior architects is he's an old school Kanban guy, right? And if I ask him to do something, he throws up a solution, he puts it in doing backlog to do, and you can see him drag the thing across the stuff, and it makes me crazy to look at it. But when I'm ready, I get the data and the statuses he needs. It comes into my reports, and he's happy, and I'm happy, and I never have to look at his Kanban board, and he never has to look at my overarching need for data, I think. I don't know if he's on this call, but if he is, Dave, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I realized that when I was working with your team, like everybody likes to do it their own way, and being able to shape the way that they like to work, I saw, great value in different members and different roles too. Not everybody's technical. Like personally, I'm more of a visual
Sure.
strategy person, and SmartSuite's great to use in that way. But if you like the Gantt charts and the the
Right.
Kanban, you can also work in that way as well.
Yeah, for any PMO to believe that they will be able to operate in a platform vacuum for the next several years is insane, and that's where you get into trouble because there's always something awesome that comes along. And what I've seen with SmartSuite, and again, not to sound like a commercial, and I apologize for it if I do, but what I've seen is your ability to work quickly and change what you guys are and the things that you provide, whether it was the API connections and stuff. It's the speed of your development gives me confidence in the ability for it to maintain platform usefulness into the future.
No, and I think that's where your feedback is very valuable just because you know the space so well. And
Right.
we're on the track not to stay who we are, but to continue to innovate by interviewing people like you. And we will continue to do so with your
Sure. I
feedback.
like, I've got a list of things that I would like you to change immediately. But
That's
I trust that
good.
we'll
That's
get to them
good.
and we'll figure them
Of
out, right?
course. Yeah, we can talk about that offline for sure. Um, So as far as like collaboration and communication, so
Mhm.
managing projects, you've mentioned that's been successful for you, but the communication and collaboration, we talked about this before you chose SmartSuite. You were communicating a lot in teams.
Yep.
How has that changed for you?
Teams is still very much where the noise is, right? Happy birthday, hey, don't forget to get your time reports in, that kind of corporate based communication. The communication around deals or initiatives or projects happens right in that little comment section in SmartSuite. And that's done wonders for us in just terms of tracking and finding out where things are and where we are. It's so much easier for me to say, hey, Mark, what's going on here in the comment? And then Mark can asynchronously get that back to me when he can. I don't have to call Mark. I don't have to burst into him or drop a bomb on him in Teams. It's just I want to ask this question about this thing, and then it shows back up in SmartSuite where I'm looking at it when he answers, and that's been huge, huge.
That's great. And I'll definitely show that when I go towards my demo. No, some of the questions I asked, you actually answered other ones as well, the ones that I had in mind. Is there anything else that you find valuable to share before I jump into showing that solution?
No, I think showing the solution is great. I will say that as an organization that delivers this for a living, or one of the things we deliver, SmartSuite allows us to customize to fit the needs of each client while remaining true to the core of what we are. And that's pretty important. So, even when I saw your PMO dashboard you showed me, I'm like, I need one of these and something like this. But having the ability to put it in on the fly or as we go through the project is just such a win. Such a win.
Well, thank you so much. We have someone interested in taking a look at your Smart Suite in the chat. Interested how you customized it yourself. But and that's the best part. We can get ideas from each other. So like you seeing this dashboard and thinking of, but the beauty is this data, a visual data
Right.
representation likely lives in the data lives there. We just have to
That's exactly
present
right.
it so we can pull whatever we need to from there.
Great.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to show my system, but I've got more NDAs than I can shake a stick at. So, I mean, if somebody wants to drop me an email and we can figure it out, I'm happy to do that, but I have to be a little careful.
Understood. Maybe duplicate it and put some
Yeah,
demo data at one
we can
point.
certainly figure it out.
Well, thank you so much, Tony. Feel free to jump off if you need to go. We appreciate your time and we're excited to continue working with you. It's been a
Great.
pleasure.
I'm just going to go on mute, and I promise not to unmute and annoy you while you go. So thanks.
Sounds good. No problem. So diving into this, and I mentioned before, in case you didn't hear, you can download this solution for yourself. So it's called Program Management Office, and we will be sharing this solution with the audience after the call. You'll download it in just a few seconds, and everything is built out for you. There's demonstration data, but it is relevant to what you would see in a typical program management office. So Tony talked a lot about the tables connecting. So if I open up a program, I'm able to see everything about it. Who's the program manager? Who's responsible for the team? What's the duration? We're rolling up the percent complete based on the total number of projects, and then organizing everything around the program. And these tables start to connect to each other. So rather than having that spreadsheet with the indentation of projects and tasks, we're looking at an outline record view. Open record view is what we really call it. Here's the program, services 2.0. However, I can see from those other database or tables the exact projects that link to it. And I can drill into these projects just by opening it up. Within the actual projects, I can see custom fields that I've created based on the way that I run a PMO. So if you have different stoplight statuses, different indications of what this means to you, different stages, you can completely customize this to be the way that you manage your projects. And Tony mentioned a lot about the communication around these projects and tasks. So this comment center here, this communication center, allows you to collaborate within the project record. So I can ask Jeff questions about the project. Why is the stoplight status red if there's no indication of why? And assign him that particular comment stream. If I need to email the client about the project, I can also go in and enable emails where I can authenticate my Gmail or Outlook and communicate with the client directly among that project, even using a template if I wish. Storing documents. So there are a lot of documents that are scattered across different tools or Google Drive or Microsoft Outlook Drive. This gives you the ability to upload those project documents, contracts, anything around those projects, and the relation to clients, NDAs, anything that you would need, you can upload into SmartSuite so that the files are directly where those projects exist. And then rolling up into different sections. So we can have tasks that are about this project. We can have the time and budget, so organizing financials about the project. These are updated via formula based on the hours of tasks billed, along with the total budget. So we're able to understand the total time of the total percentage of time used and the budget remaining, not in a static spreadsheet, but these are the roll-ups formulas that Tony was mentioning have been valuable. Change requests. So as Tony mentioned, there are things constantly changing within a process or a project. We can represent and manage these change requests in a dedicated place that can then roll up to the project. And we'll look at this in the dashboard. Anything around the project, so there may be particular status reports or staffing or daily stand-ups, are in addition to the solution that you can utilize. And the dashboards just represent the user interface and the presentation layer of these databases. So I will drill into just a couple of these so people who are more involved in projects can understand the different variety of views that we have. So not only is it the traditional spreadsheet view, but we have card views, timeline views, Gantt views. I'm going to click on this view type selection here so you can see the variety of different ways that people like to work. A new one being document view, which I think was very valuable for when you're outlining projects. And Tony, you may not have known this one exists quite yet, but think of it as a Google Docs or Microsoft document right within a particular table. So if you're planning your project strategy or a project outline in general, you can have a dedicated document view for that. Project frameworks, anything you imagine there. And then Gantt view. So that's, I know, important to a lot of people. Dependencies, there's quite complex dependencies that you can set in standard or advanced mode if you need those capabilities. And then going into each individual dashboard, I know I briefly mentioned the different dashboard roles. However, I'm going to show many of these widgets just so you can see how you can visualize data. So everything you see here is pulled from these tables. It's a live source of data. It's interactive. So I could come in and select the program, and these widgets, we call them widgets, they're basically just metrics in a stage form, will be adjusted. So I could look and select a project manager and see the status is the project by stage by project manager and select them. By status report, potentially. Any filtration I need, I can do that here. And then seeing higher level, so projects in various stoplight statuses by selecting the program and seeing the program status here. And we can create percentage and values. Every card, these are called summary cards, are clickable. So I could come in and see the actual work that's within that criteria for filter. Charts, so if you like to visualize, and it may be important for budgeting and spending standpoint, we can also visualize these over time, over stage, as needed to get not just that weekly report, but to see your data move over time and understand where potentially even your revenue is coming from and where to prioritize different projects. This one is open projects by project manager. So getting visualizations on the projects that their managers are owning, and then having a visual of all the actual projects that are going on and the progression. So someone in a leadership or managing the program life cycle could see everything at a glance here. I'm going to go into risks or blockers. So pointing people who need to know when these tasks or projects are blocked is critical. So having a place that it funnels into is very useful, because rather than looking through these spreadsheets and trying to navigate, or the fear of someone not updating a status to be blocked. We can have the status field automatically become blocked under certain criteria. So we haven't even touched quite a bit on automation, but having automation do some of the work for you so you can catch things before it's too late. Being notified when tasks are due, project deadlines are reaching can also help your team stay more accountable. And Tony mentioned the need for change requests. So projects are always shifting around, and being able to organize those change requests and manage them in unison with the client is important too. So you can collaborate directly and show information about the project to the client. So I could actually create a specific view for a client and share it out to them so they have visibility into their projects. And I can manage the particular fields of data that they see. So they probably wouldn't see the stoplight status, but they would see the stage, the progress, documents, deliverables, and their status. And I can give them visibility into that if I wish. And then project details. I do want to mention, we can even have a change request form that they can fill out, and it creates a change request within SmartSuite for your team to then act on and see. So I have seen a lot of project teams interact with their clients and collaborate with their clients in some way in this process, so you're not having to just work and email with them. If I go into the project management dashboard, we can see specific tasks that are due from someone who's managing projects, potentially delivery progressions, and change request decisions that they need to make. And we are just pulling different views. So we've pulled a grid view. We can pull chart views, reports, anything that you would like, or however you would like to visualize your work. You can see it in different ways. So pulling different elements and visualizations together that lead you to make better decisions. This one is focused on workload. So understanding who's doing the work, and in this case, it looks like it's me primarily. If we were to go in and assign someone, so you've noticed that I am definitely over capacity, I could go in and assign this project to Brian, and then you can see now he's assigned this project. So I can shift gears if I notice that people are in the red here. We can visualize different projects and views here. So this is one of the most valuable views. It's called the record selector and record details. This allows us to create not only to filter this selection. So if I wanted to go to Anna, I would see her projects and I would see all of the details around the projects here. I can change these in real time if I wish. So I do want to stress these are reports that you can look at in different ways, but they're actionable. So you can come in as a member, collaborator, program manager, and edit this data directly within the dashboard. It's live for you to interact with and view, of course. You can also create new data. So every day, most teams work only in dashboards, especially people who are coming in just to do a couple things, approve projects, review tasks. Those types of simple actions can be done within dashboards, so they don't need to dive into the weeds of the tables. And here's another example of showing the projects, this one, due soon. So allowing you to roll up all the tasks that are representative of the projects. However, using this relational database capability, we always know the project that the task is related to. So I could create visualizations here where I could group my tasks by a project. And that is not just a label or categorization, but I can click into that project and say the status of it directly. And what I've done here is I've referenced via one task record here, I've referenced this entire database just through that linked record there. If we need to have time tracking capabilities, we do have we have a timer, so you can start the timer as well as log time if you need to. And this time can roll, so you can create build hours, and you can roll it up to a project budget, and then see the people and time that they've worked for the project. So multiple people could be responsible for managing a task. In addition to the project side of it, everything in SmartSuite can become a task using three fields. So we have an assigned to field. In this case, it's retitled owner. We have a status and a due date. When you assign someone to a task and link it to a status, this triggers a task within the product. So everything can be viewed. First off, they get a notification. The due date is linked to that status, so you'll always know how many days it's due or overdue or completed when it was completed prior to the due date. But this all rolls up into your My Work. And you may be spread across different processes or projects in different roles, potentially, if you're a smaller company, or even if you're collaborating as more of an executive role and you need to review things across processes. You can be assigned the particular task and it can roll up from different places in your organization. So in this case, I'm in charge of multiple project management systems, and I can then come in and do my work directly from here if I wish. Creating new data on the fly is very easy. I can easily create an entirely new task directly from the dashboard without having to go into the task table here. Does anyone have any questions particular to what I said? And we will get into Q&A shortly. However, I just want to stress not only, so these dashboards here, they can be shared to different stakeholders. So there may be a couple people who aren't necessarily directly within SmartSuite. Maybe they need to edit, but this is an executive report that updates in real time. So as I make changes to the project, this shared link that provided can be seen by anyone, of course, password protected within the system. So that weekly report is not just a static email. It can be automated and sent out, that link particularly to the individual that needs to see it. We have a question about doing projects for, and I will send the project management solution is in our template gallery. And I will share the link now. I'll just do a shared solution to make it easy. I'll put it in the chat here, and we can also send this in the follow-up email as well. When you receive this link, you'll receive, if you open it, you'll see at the very top, it says copy solution. Up here, you click copy solution, and then it would present you with the workspace to bring it to here. You could select the workspace. So before we dive into questions, I'll wrap this up, and thank you so much, Tony, for your perspective. But the objective today is just to show how the modern PMO is changing, and we want to create clarity across your organization, allowing executives, project managers, and the people doing the work to be able to have one ecosystem that is cohesive, removing data silos and allowing you to focus on the work and not trying to find the work or manage the work or look for data. Jeff, feel free to ask any questions you're seeing come up.
Yeah, I was going to say thank you, Emma, for that. I think there's a bunch of questions. I think we should go through them, and it might lead to more questions. No particular order. Dave asked, can you show the underlying table structures?
Sure. Yeah, I did go a bit into this already. And definitely I think just downloading it we'll be able to see, but we have programs connected to projects are connected to projects as well. Deliverables, if you have them, are also connected to projects via the linked record. There's status reports that are also connected to projects. Change requests that are connected to projects, and then this make staffing is also connected. So projects are really the main bucket in which these are connected to, and then programs are where the projects are rolled up. So we have a count here that shows the total projects. And then we can dive into the projects here. So we're able to see the different the projects and the data that rolls up. And then if I go into projects, you'll notice that every project has a relationship field to all of these different tables in which you can use. In this case, we have an additional feature called tabs that allow you to organize this into a view at the top here. This is a newer feature that we'll want to add to this solution template.
Emma, are you able to show the data schema?
I will. That would be a great
cool.
idea. So how this data relates together, in our dashboard widget, we can utilize, in the dashboard view is actually the way you get to it. We have a widget called the data schema. And this allows us to show the relationships within the solution. So in this case, here's my dashboard widget. But we can start to see how things connect. So these are the fields that connect. So seeing how the link to projects is linking to programs, deliverables, tasks to deliverables, staffing to projects. And here's the design of the solution. Now, I do want to stress, and I think this actually will drive home some of Tony's points about linking to a CRM. So I have clients that I'm managing these projects for in an entirely different solution. So I'll say that accounts. I'll do CRM accounts. And I'm pulling data and associating these clients with, let's see, I'll go to my dashboard. And I can relate and I can show how this solution is created, showing other links to solutions. I may need to. We can do one that I've already created. If I created this linked record here, oh, I didn't link anything. Okay, so let's link some clients to these projects. And this is pulling data from my CRM. So an entirely different solution, I can look into the client and I've now created that project relationship here. So I'm now able to execute and link projects and see a historical timeline or record of everything I've performed for these companies. So now if I go into my data schema, I should be able to see that link to that other solution. So now I can see that these projects are linked to my clients. This is a different solution workspace, and it's now reflected there. So if I were to go and I just want to show the sales CRM is where I manage my accounts, and it's now connected to the projects. And that's where you start to get into the relational database side of SmartSuite and the operational side of SmartSuite, so business operations there. Any additional questions, Jeff?
Good stuff. Thanks, Emma. Candy's asking, and this was back a little while ago, but since Candy does projects for customers, I see staffing. Is there a table for customers? Question mark.
There can be, and that's what I just demonstrated in the CRM. This is where we would have accounts or customers in a dedicated CRM. And then you can connect to, it doesn't matter where the table lives. If you want it to be in the PMO table, you can. That's fine because it just connects either way. It doesn't matter. The table can exist in any solution. Some people like a fully built out CRM. That's great, but you could also add customers if you want it in here in its own table.
Nice. Okay. Nicole's asking, where does the document in document view go or live? Is it simply
It's just a
pinned
view
note
type.
for
Yeah.
that table?
So you go to create a new view and select document, and there it will be created for you.
Right. A few product kind of feature questions. Are there any plans to have more compact views in grid and Kanban layouts in SmartSuite. Some of our team prefers Excel and Smartsheet because it uses screen real estate more efficiently.
Potentially, maybe not like short term, but I know we're looking at potentially a list view. But we would need to look at the roadmap, probably a discussion offline.
Okay. Follow-up question on the document view from Dave. How is the document view different from the solution guide?
The solution represents a guide to the entire solution. This is a document within a table. So I honestly think the document could be a better version of the solution guide because you could have it within dashboards and it could represent SOPs. But the document just lives within the table. So depending on how you want to use it, it could be in a overall dashboard or home table and have a document there, or it could be a document specific to the particular table. It serves as a very similar, if not more valuable way of representing a solution because it's not as hidden. It's right where in the forefront when people are doing work.
Couple more for you. How are people capturing projects and sub-projects and tasks on a single view? I'd love to be able to run these in Kanban views, but currently I don't think it's possible in the dashboard view within SmartSuite.
I mean, you can pull in any different view type. I probably need more information on that. Or if you want to message our support, we can give you more like specified product help on what you're looking for because you probably need more information, maybe screenshots of what you're looking to achieve. But every view that you see here is the same that it would be in a dashboard, minus one or two. Kanban view potentially is what you're looking for. You can show tasks. You can group tasks. If you have a subtask table, you can group tasks by or subtasks by tasks. But I think reaching out to our team and giving us more context would be helpful.
Follow-up, thanks, Emma. Follow-up question. You mentioned a new feature.
Oh yeah, those are tabs, and I actually sent the person the link to the article. Those were record tabs. So
Okay.
anyone interested in implementing record tabs, I'll send it again to everybody.
Thank you. Last one that I see here, and this is from Jesus. We may need to hop on a separate call, but I'll read it to you. You can see if you have some any thoughts initially. In several cases, I have my list of tasks for a project. They're classified by phase or stage. When I group them, they don't follow the dates or order. What should I do to keep the correct sequence based on dates when they are grouped?
So I think what I'm trying to see is like you can sort by the due date, but when you group, like just given the nature of the way it groups, it's going to group each group. I think that's what you mean, but we probably should talk offline since we're coming up on time. Probably need some context.
Yeah,
But
Jesus, feel free.
Sort in group.
Jesus, feel free to reach out to either Jeff at SmartSuite or Emma at SmartSuite. We can do a follow-up session with you. Excellent. I think that is it that I see in chat or Q&A. If there's anything we missed, feel free to follow up with us, or feel free to send me an email directly, jeff@smartsuite.com or emma@smartsuite.com. Tony, any last thoughts? Or I know we've released a lot of new features. I don't know if there's any new features that kind of are your favorite that you're excited about, but let us know.
Oh, for me, no, just thank everybody for listening. Emma has my email if you want to reach out and poke me with a stick a little more. I'm happy to answer questions or go from there. So thank you.
Sounds good. And Tony's wonderful to work with. If you're looking to implement projects, he would be an excellent choice. So if you're looking to connect with Tony in that way, please reach out to me. I'm happy to provide the introduction.
Sure.
Yeah, and then Emma, I don't know if you want to share your screen real quick and go to the resources page. I think there's only a couple webinars left for the year. Emma can kind of show you those. If you go to our website, go to resources, and then there's a spot for events and webinars. But
can either go to our
Uh,
webinar page under resources, or if you're logged into SmartSuite, you can go into, are you seeing my screen okay?
yeah.
Okay. And you can click on this help and resources guide, and it will bring you to a lot of different resources in the product. If you scroll down, you'll see our upcoming webinars and workshops here. So we always have our bi-weekly getting started. If you're interested in operational excellence in action, so seeing how a company has driven operational cohesiveness in SmartSuite, we will be doing that next week, and followed by a GRC webinar. And then we have our monthly training class that we host each month. So if you're interested in attending future events, feel free to do so. And we're also open to feedback if you have ideas for webinars you would like to see.
Or even participate in. So yeah, we're
That's
open to
true.
ideas. We're trying to bring different perspectives and angles from across the SmartSuite ecosystem. So wonderful. Well, Emma, thank you so much. Tony, thank you so much. If we don't speak, have a wonderful holiday season with the family. And yeah, all the folks that joined today and spent time with us, thank you so much. If there's any follow-up items, please reach out to us. Let us know how we can help. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day and your week. And we'll see you all soon.